Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video, and it's a workshop video today. There are quite a few jobs that come up again and again with Volkswagen Group cars, and I thought I'd pick on the most popular and do a video showing you how to do them yourself. Now the first one we're going to do is a Haldex oil and filter change on this Mk1 TT. Around 4 years ago I made a really poor video that didn't have any speaking in it, just a bit of footage and some photos with a bit of text overlaid showing you how to do the oil change on a Mk1 TT. Well, this time we're going to do the oil and the filter. It's a little bit more involved and a little bit more worthy of a proper video. So without any further ado, let's get this Haldex oil and filter change done on this Mk1 Audi TT. Okay, the first thing you need to do when doing the Haldex oil change is to make sure the oil is up to temperature. Now generally you can just do this by doing a relatively long test drive. I think the exhaust will heat it up a bit and then the friction from within the Haldex unit will take it above that temperature even if it's in the winter. Luckily today, and very unusually for the UK, it's above 20 degrees. It's probably about 25 even now at 5 PM in the evening, so there's no issues. But just to be sure, I've got my trusty VCDS diagnostic computer here and we can have a look. So we're in the AUDI controller, and if you go into measuring blocks and go to block 2, so 2 clicks, you can see we're actually up to 31 degrees. That's bang on in spec. So the next thing we need to do now is get the car into the workshop, up in the air, and get the oil out. Now obviously not everybody's got the benefit of a 2-post lift, so if you're doing it at home on axle stands or with ramps or whatever, just make sure the car's really secure. There's no reason why you can't do this at home as a DIY thing, but just be extra careful when getting underneath the car because we don't want you to get squashed. Okay, well, as you can see, the car's now safely up in the air, but before I start working on it, I thought I'd show you what you need to do this job. So let's start with the parts, and this is the Haldex oil. Now this was only really available from Haldex until recently, but this company called Ravenol, it says made in Germany, are now making it, and it's usually available for a bit less than it has been. Generally the two bits together with the filter come to about 60 quid. I think the filter's actually more than the oil or something weird like that, but generally about 60 quid. If you shop around online they're a bit less, so it's not too bad. Again, the spanner used to be only available from Volkswagen, so you need a specific spanner to get the filter off without struggling. You can do it through other methods, but I bought this probably about 15 years ago and it's paid for itself many times over. And you need a 5mm Allen key to get the drain plug out, and you need a torque wrench to put it back in at 15 Newton meters. You also need a caulking gun to squeeze the oil into the car. Now before we get started, I'll just show you what we're going to do then. So this is the Haldex unit. This is a 4-wheel drive TT. It's the same basically on any Mk4 Golf based car with 4-wheel drive, so Golf V6 4Motion, Golf R32, Bora V6 4Motion. I think there are some Skoda Octavia 4x4s as well, and in other markets, non-UK, you get, I think, the Seat Leon Cupra 4x4 as well. Great car. Never got it here, but we finally have now with a new model. So that's the rear diff. The Haldex, yeah, is actually at the front of it there. So the bit we need to drain from, do not drain around here because this is the rear differential. Probably a good idea to change it, but we're not doing that today. The bit you need to drain is there. Hopefully you can see that. That's a little 5mm drain plug. And the filter, well, let's see if I can show you that. The problem with it is that it's tucked away in this rear suspension mounting, so I'll just put the light on from my phone. It's there somewhere, is it? Yeah. So it's that black bit of plastic you can just see in the middle of all the metal underneath that aluminium piece. It doesn't look like the original though, because they're normally metal, so maybe it's been done before, but it's definitely due again. So first thing we need to do now is drain the oil, so I'll just get cracking with that. Let me just grab the Allen key. I might as well try and hold the camera and do it at the same time. Recipe for disaster, maybe. Okay, so drain plug here. Just come around so you can see. It's not exactly complicated. Put that in, turn it. It's quite tight though, so let's see if I can get it to go. Okay. Okay, that's gone, so let me just do it by hand now. And we don't want the plug to fall into the drainer because that would be a bit of a disaster. render the car immobile till we got another one, which would probably be in the middle of next week. Let's go better. Okay, so unwind this. And off it goes. So leave that to drain for a bit. Put this down. Have a cup of tea. Cheers. Okay, the oil has now drained. It's still dripping a bit, but I've just finished my cup of tea. So a cup of tea plus a few minutes and you should be good to go. Now if you're going to do the filter as well, which is every 40k, the oil is every 20k, I probably should have said that earlier. This should be done every 20,000 miles as an oil change only, much easier than doing the filter. That's due every 40, this car's done 43. The history suggests it had never had a filter, but it looks like it might have done. But anyway, 40,000 miles for the two. Now if you're doing that on a TT, there is a complication. I think it's only on a Roadster as well that you get this brace bar here. So this makes the body less vulnerable to flex, I gather, but it does mean that you can't really get your Haldex spanner in to undo the filter. And to undo this bar, you have to undo this plastic tray. So it's a lot more fiddly. I think on Mk4 Golf, the tray might be there, but the bar's not there or something like that, and it's just a lot easier. So yeah, let me get that off, and then we'll come back when I've got the spanner in place and we're onto the filter. Okay, well that didn't go too badly. As you can see, the tray now is hanging down, which leaves us enough room to get the Haldex spanner in place. You can see it there. The bar then, the brace bar, is attached with two bolts here and one, thankfully, just down there, which means it will actually just pivot across once you've done these two. Push it out of the way, which means the Haldex spanner can get into position, and now we can undo it. Unfortunately, you will need two more tools to do this if you've got this set up on your car. So you'll need a T40 Torx to undo the two bolts from the brace bar, and you need a 10mm socket to undo the nuts that holds the tray up to the floor. There are some other T25 Torx screws, a bit like wheel arch liner screws, that hold the tray onto the car, but you shouldn't need to undo those. So yeah, bear that in mind if you've got this set up on your car. Right, now for the spanner. So it's going to be tricky to juggle all this, but the light's in my hand, the camera's in my hand, the spanner is in position. So can you see it up there? Well, let's try and get this light on there. You can probably see the top of it there. It's the shinier bit, and this is the end of it. So this is why it's so important, because it's really restricted access. So with that bar out of the way, we can get, you know, a reasonable turn with the spanner. Right then, I've spared you my fiddling around getting the filter out, so it took a couple of minutes really. If you do it day in, day out, like a main dealer tech, I'm sure they can do it in like 30 seconds or something. But access is really limited. Now I should point out that when you take the filter out, there will be some more oil draining out, so make sure your drainer, whatever it may be, is in position. And now you just have to try and work out how to get the filter out. So it's loose now. It goes hand tight towards the end of it. That wasn't too hard actually, was it? There we go. So that's the old filter, which I'm pretty sure is not original, because they, well, unless they changed them towards the end of the TT run, the early ones were metal. So leave that to drain. Okay, so still a bit more draining to do. The next step then is to get the new filter on, and as ever, it's a good idea to oil the seal. So just like any oil filter, so I've got a bit of oil on my finger actually, I'm just running that around it. Like that, that's all you need. And if you do oil changes, you know it's a bit weird to put a filter on with a spanner, even though you might have used a spanner to take it off. You usually put them on hand tight, but because access is so poor, you do have to use the spanner, and obviously you can't get a torque wrench in, so you just have to use your instinct as to how tight it should be, but it shouldn't be too hard. So let's see if I can get it in. Try and avoid touching any sort of dirty bits down here. Yeah, that's in position, so that's going on hand tight now. Obviously the further you can get it in hand tight, the less fumbling with the spanner you're going to need. Just be careful not to cross thread it. Alright, so I'll get the spanner on now. You don't want to watch me do that. I'll come back to it when I've got the spanner on. Okay, well the filter's in place, and I can see why they didn't bother doing filter changes on the later cars. So with Mk4 Golf onwards, they just turned it into an oil change and said the filter was there for life. You can change it, but yeah, this is so fiddly. Even with the right spanner, you've really only got a tiny bit of room to move it, sort of like that. So you're doing about 1/8 of a turn at a time, and it does take quite a long time. It actually works up a bit of a sweat. Now I've put the couple of bolts in here for the bar. I must tighten them up. A slight problem we have is these really annoying clips that hold trays on tend to fail, get a bit rusty and fall off. Luckily, and I didn't know I was doing this job, but I bought a few of them off eBay, so you know the type. So I'll get swapping those to make sure that'll clip up nicely, and then get that all done and dusted. Then the next job after that is to put the oil in. This is the fun bit, because if you muck this up, you're kind of in a lot of trouble. You need to put some oil in to move the car. If you end up spilling it all over the floor or into the drainer because you can't get the screw in properly, then you are knackered. I don't have another one in stock, so hopefully this will go well. But anyway, I'm going to put the car back together, and the last thing we're going to do is inject the oil in, put the plug in, and hopefully that'll be it. So just keep on injecting it in to make sure it's not coming out. I've just had to chop the end off the tip of the nozzle because it was too long and too narrow, so it wasn't actually forming a seal, so it would have just come straight out. I might be being over paranoid, but I don't remember having to do that on other manufacturers' nozzles. Okay, well, that did not go to plan. I've been working on cars now for nearly, well over 20 years, including the time that I did it before I started this business, and you still get tripped up by stupid things. Now what happened was that the Ravenol nozzle was not the correct fit for the Haldex unit. Now I've been buying Haldex both from VW, this is the genuine part, and the Haldex stuff, which is identical. The tip here is designed to fit in the Haldex unit. The Ravenol one, even with a bit chopped off, because I was a bit suspicious, it's too small, so you can compare the two. So this one I've chopped down a bit, this one is exactly as it came from Volkswagen this morning, and that's designed to fit in the hole, so when you inject the oil into the Haldex coupling, it doesn't leak out. Well, I thought I was imagining things, maybe because I was filming I wasn't concentrating properly, but I thought they can't be that stupid to supply a nozzle that doesn't fit the Haldex unit. But unfortunately they did, so a few bits of pumping into the process and it started to leak down my arm, and then that was it. Once you've lost oil, and you can't go back. You have to start again and get another tube. Luckily VW had this in stock, so I got this today, but if this was a customer's car and they were expecting it last night, they wouldn't have been able to have it through the stupid design of this Ravenol nozzle. Now I've contacted Ravenol and they said they've never had any complaints, but they do sell a lot of these to people with Land Rovers that might be a bit different. But you can blatantly see that this tube is not a standard caulking gun tube on the genuine parts. It's specifically designed to go into the hole on the Haldex unit. Hopefully you can see this. So it's really hard to point the camera upwards, but there's the hole there, and you push it in and it's a lovely snug fit. And therefore when you inject the oil in, it doesn't come out until you've obviously filled it all up and taken the tube out. So let's try doing that again, this time with a genuine Volkswagen Haldex oil tube. Okay, take two then. So drained out whatever little bit of the Ravenol stuff has got in, got the drain plug here ready to go back in. It's on a driver that's rubberized and oil free. It's quite important because your hands may well be covered with oil by the time you try and put that in, so I'm going to try and get that into my hand. Yeah, it should be right. Okay, let's go. So push that in, it's a nice fit, The problem is as well yesterday, you cannot see really unless you're right under it, and then you're going to get oil on you. So, but I'm going to double check now and it's all good. So next there you can see it moving up the nozzle now. Yep, that's going in. And this nozzle only cost about £16, so I paid about 40 for the filter and the oil from an eBay seller. So I don't know how much the filter is, maybe it's about 30, so I probably saved a bit, but 16 quid was a bit cheaper than I thought, so not bad. But overall in total now it's cost me the best part of 60 quid. And a day of the car taking up the ramp. Okay, so you can see hopefully that it's coming to the end of the fill now. I can hear the cartridge sounding a bit empty. The gun is not doing anything now because it's reached the stop. Nothing dripping down at all. So we've given it a full load. Now there's a tricky bit. You really cannot afford to drop this, especially if you haven't got a helper like me. So that's ready to go in. I do hate this bit. Okay. It's such a good fit, it's actually holding the cartridge gun in. And that's it, barely a trickle came out now. So a little tip there, I pushed the drain plug against the bottom of the Haldex coupling, ready to just slide it across, and that's a relief now. So the Haldex on this car is done. We just need to torque it up to 15 Newton meters and the job's a good one. Okay guys, well that's the Haldex oil change done on this TT 3.2 Quattro. I hope you've enjoyed this Volks Wizard video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share. As ever, please do subscribe. And if you've got any jobs you want me to do on video that are common on VW Group, nothing too weird and wonderful, but something that you know other people might benefit from, then just comment below. I'll see if I can work them into my daily work here at Volks Wizard. See you for the next one soon.